Strap yourself in for Keeping It Real with Jack and Raoul.
Oh, God, I'm sorry, Raoul. Sorry. I really am sorry. Sorry about that.
Yeah, good on you.
Is
That's
that
a good intro.
Is that a good apology?
That is an
apology.
over apology. Apology.
Is it a plastic apology?
Yeah. So, keepers, this is another episode of Keeping It Real with Jack and Raoul, and I am Gabrielle Dolan, and next to me, as usual, is
Jack Phillips.
Jack Phillips, the amazing Jack Phillips. And
Thank you, Raoul.
this episode is on plastic apologies.
I love plastic apologies. You made that word up, right? As in that line up.
Yeah, I did. Well, you know, like everything, I thought I made it up, but then I Googled it and apparently it was already a thing. But the reason I plastic apology, you know the plastic cheese, you know when you get the cheese in
singles,
the plastic
cheese singles.
cheese singles, like they're commonly known as plastic cheese.
Correct.
I think because they're wrapped in plastic, but most of the time they taste like plastic.
There's I don't think there's a natural thing in it.
Yeah. So it doesn't feel like
no
real
food.
cheese, and that is what a plastic apology is.
Doesn't feel
because
like
it doesn't feel real. It
real
feels a little bit
apology.
insincere. There's always a little bit of a but at the end. So we want to talk today about what is a plastic apology, as in what is a bad apology.
Well, we've got some examples too.
We have what's a good apology,
Some examples
because I think if you're going to make an apology, what do you do? And we also want to talk about over apologising.
And why learning to apologise well matters.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a real opportunity here.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Well,
So
with that, let's get stuck into it.
let's get stuck into it before I apologise again. What is a bad apology in your view? Give me an example of a bad apology. I've got one or two, but you give me
bad apologies, they always include the terms like if you were offended. Like if anyone was offended by this, it was like, well, you just said something that's really offensive.
and assuming no responsibility for that.
So don't worry about the if. Now you could argue, well, not everyone was offended. Well, maybe not, but it was something you said. This actually came about when Marty Sheargold, Australian journalist, he's a comedian, but he
not
just
funny.
bagged the Matildas, so the national soccer team, which captured
Women's soccer team.
captured Australia by storm in the World Cup, like still is the biggest watched sporting event in Australian history. So everyone got behind them. It was
And
amazing.
has had an amazing impact on young women
Yes.
and girls
And young
playing
boys.
sport and boys. That's very very good
So
point.
he, they were
positive.
late. I think they were playing in the Asia Cup, and they'd lost a couple of games.
Yep.
He got on the air like this is prime time. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, saying he said something like he would prefer to put a nail in his penis than watch
Here's the hammer, Marty.
the Matildas, and went on to say they remind him of year 10 girls bitching about stuff. It was just so, and like a lot of people came on and go, imagine all the parents taking their girls and boys on the way to soccer practice and
listening
hearing
that at that time frame. Yeah.
So of course he ended up getting sacked.
Yeah.
But he came
Couldn't
out
happen to
with
a
an
nicer
apology, and it was again both. It was Triple M. They came out with initially a bit of a weak apology to say that it had May.
So it sounded forced and it sounded insincere.
Yeah, and his was
vague,
if it was he did
defensive.
come out after like a few days later after he'd got sacked with a more sincere apology, admitting that he totally now realizes the impact of his words.
Better late than never, I suppose. Slow learner. But the point is that we're not talking about Marty Sheargold as a great comedian or as a great radio host. We're talking about him because he didn't apologise well.
Yeah.
He made some stupid comments, and look, no one's perfect. We have all made silly comments and often regretted them. So the ability to apologise and be sincere and authentic and say, well, actually, I learned something from that.
Yeah.
But
And that's
this
what
is
you
this.
said at the importance of it,
The
because if he
importance of
had
it.
if he had done a really good apology,
He'd probably still be
it prob-
employed.
and his brand would be like
Yes.
people might go, okay, dumb, but it's almost like how you destroy a brand in one stupid apology.
Back in the day, it was 2010, so it was a long, long time ago, 15 years ago, BP had a massive issue, a Deepwater Horizon oil spill. And the CEO at the time, a guy called Tony Hayward, went on to say, I want my life back.
Right.
So he made the crisis about himself rather than those affected, and it was a massive.
So it was an oil spill.
It was an oil
Yeah, I
spill. It
reckon all
killed
those-
so much
I reckon
nature.
all those dead animals would want their life back too.
So he wanted his life back. He had been put through the mill as the CEO of BP, being paid millions of dollars. And so he was tone deaf, it was dismissive, and it was self-centered. Another example of a bad apology. He made it about himself.
I remember the one, Lance Armstrong. So, he would be, whatever, how many Tour de France's he won, and then you got drug cheating. And I remember he did that big apology with Oprah, or the big winter interview with Oprah. And it was like an apology, but he kept sort of saying, I didn't think I was cheating. And again, it's just like, it wasn't cheating because everyone else was doing it. It was like, no, you were cheating. Everyone was cheating. But
That's right. But that doesn't make it okay.
It doesn't make it okay.
So the difference between a bad apology and a great apology is immense. And like you said, it comes back to personal brand and what's remembered. So one of the greatest public apologies, according to my research, and I would agree with this, is when you actually own your mistake, unlike Lance, unlike our mate Marty, the BP CEO, and Marty. Kevin Rudd's apology to the stolen generations. That was back in 2008, so it was a long time ago. So he delivered a formal apology to Indigenous Australians for past mistreatment. Why it worked? It was heartfelt, specific, and took full responsibility without excuses.
I know.
It was heartfelt, specific, and took full responsibility without excuses.
I remember exactly where I was when that happened. Do you
Where
remember?
were you? No, I don't remember where I was.
Okay, I was running I was running a storytelling workshop.
Yeah, you are.
At National Australia Bank.
Yep.
So we were in the training room. Started at 9, and this was like an apology that had been spoken about for decades, and previous prime ministers had never did it. And Kevin Rudd said he would do it if he got elected, which he did. Probably one of the very good things he did do. And it was in February. I know that. It was early in the year. Because I was running a storytelling workshop, and it was such a big event, and we started the workshop at 9, and this was at 9:30. And I said, does anyone else have an interest in watching this live? And everyone wanted to watch it live. So we went out.
That's so good.
And it was like, this is in corporate head offices at NAB. I reckon everyone had stopped working.
Brilliant.
To watch it.
Go NAB.
And people were crying. I was like,
yeah. Oh no, it was quite moving. I remember it being quite moving.
Yeah.
And I'm not Indigenous, but I remember being proud. Actually,
yeah, it was proud.
I'm not a massive fan of Kevin Rudd and the way he has treated Julia Gillard and many other things. But I thought that was absolutely a defining moment for his personal brand and for Australian politics and for Australia.
And for Australia.
I'll tell you another one, and I got right into this. I became very invested in it, and I suppose it's because Telstra is a brand you and I have done a lot of work with. In fact, we just recently did. Shout out to Alia Eggins-Bryce, who's an awesome senior leader at Telstra, brought Rahl and myself in for a live Keeping It Real podcast to her team for International Women's Day. Yeah. That was a really great experience.
We're doing live podcast, people. Hit us up.
Just in case you were wondering, no apologies there. Telstra CEO Vicky Brady, she delivered a well-received apology for the 000 outage that left over 100 callers without access to emergency services.
This was recently?
Very recently, last year. She acknowledged the seriousness of the failure, particularly in cases where it may have contributed to tragic outcomes, So in a statement, she explained the technical cause of the issue quite briefly. She then took responsibility, detailing how Telstra's backup processes were activated, but still resulted in 127 callers being unable to reach emergency services. She also addressed a secondary failure, so she's been very open and honest here, things that people would not have known about. And her apology stood out for its clarity, accountability and proactive response. She emphasised Telstra had conducted an in-depth investigation to prevent future occurrences and outlined steps taken to improve backup processes. She said at least 5 times in this interview with the ABC, I take full responsibility for this. This is on my watch. I am the CEO. It is not good enough and I apologise. Gee, it was impressive.
Yeah.
It really was. Go, Vicky.
Yeah. And I think that what you've hit on, one of the steps to a good apology is just take full responsibility. No buts, no maybes. And if you're the CEO,
own it.
It is your full responsibility.
It's on your shoulders.
Yeah, buck stops there.
Kevin Rudd was Prime Minister of Australia. So I will take responsibility for the mistreatment of Indigenous Australians.
Yeah.
And I will apologise.
Yeah.
So I think to be able to apologise well, to learn how to apologise well, key takeaways, take full responsibility. So avoid excuses or shifting the blame.
Yeah. Don't add in the word but anywhere.
Correct. Express genuine remorse. People know when it's insecure.
Yep.
Gosh, you can tell.
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes it's like the fact that she said that 5 times over and over and you do it.
Yeah.
And even just the way you could say, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like we know,
Exactly
you know
right.
when, like even when your friends or your kids go, oh, sorry. It's like, well, that's not genuine.
That's not genuine. It's a plastic apology. Express genuine remorse. People can tell when it's insincere. Acknowledge the harm caused. Show empathy for those affected. Actually name them. Quantify it. 127 people could not get through. She named that. That's a lot. Make amends. Outline how you'll fix the mistake. If you're taking responsibility for it, what are we doing next? How are we going to make sure this doesn't happen again? And then follow through. An apology is meaningless if actions don't back it up. So those are some key takeaways on how to apologise well.
Yeah, and I think all of them are important, but backing it up, if, you've sort of said things like, and this is what happens a lot of the time, is like, oh, we're reviewing our processes and systems and blah, blah, blah.
So totally insincere, totally you are removed. Oh, it's the business's problem. I'm sorry, business is made up of human beings.
Yeah.
Human beings are the problem.
Yeah.
They have caused the problem. So apologise for it.
Yeah.
Be a human being that owns it.
Absolutely.
I remember noticing in a workplace the number of times women apologise more than men.
I was going to say, let's move on to over-apologising.
Yeah, it's a thing. So research.
It is a thing. It is a thing.
Well,
and
research,
I think we've spoken about this in a previous episode, but the over-apologising, what it can do to your brand.
Totally. Research suggests women tend to apologise more than men at work. A 2010 study from the University of Waterloo found that women report more apologies.
Stop. I just felt like going into an ABBA song then, but I won't.
Waterloo.
Don't.
Waterloo found that women report more apologies because they see more of their own actions as potentially offensive, whereas men are less likely to view the same actions as problematic. Now, that's a problem for women.
Yeah.
Social conditioning also plays a role here, yeah? Women are brought up to prioritise empathy, cooperation and harmony, leading them to apologise more frequently, even when unnecessary. This is what I'm going back to about women in the workplace. And our workplace culture reinforces this. Studies suggest women who assert themselves too strongly can then face negative perceptions, which may drive them to soften their approach with apologies.
And I think that is what I think ultimately what women don't want to come across as assertive or aggressive, and they soften their stance by apologising either before or after.
Often before. Start with an apology. And my goodness.
And it's just taken away from you. I see a lot of women will say something, they've got an opinion.
Correct.
And they'll say it and you think, oh, that's really interesting or insightful, well done. And then they go, sorry, that's just my opinion. It was like, okay, you've just...
Don't apologise for your opinion.
Why? You've just actually taken away credibility from what you've just said.
Of that. And what about where you start with, sorry, I just wanted to.
Yeah.
Do not apologise for speaking up. We need more women speaking up in the workplace.
Yeah. There was a great ad that I forget who it was. We'll put it in the show notes, and it was sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
And it's different ways to start conversations.
So instead of
saying, sorry, have you got a minute? You just come in and go, have you got a minute?
Sorry, I'm late. What about thank you for waiting?
Yes. So
replace sorry with a thank you.
And be, we always come back to awareness. Be mindful of the amount of times you say sorry.
Note it down and have somebody be your accountability partner. There's a growing recognition that excessive apologising can undermine authority and confidence. If you are a female in the workforce and you want to be a leader, or you are a leader, if you are continuing to apologise for your opinion, continuing to apologise at the start of a sentence, just apologising too much, then people are going to say you don't have authority and you don't have confidence.
Yeah. And like, think about that. You think, oh, I'm going to say sorry because I don't want to come across as assertive. over apologizing means you're coming across with a lack of credibility and confidence. I mean, God, choose assertive.
Absolutely. So many leadership coaches, me included, are now advising women to shift from reflexive apologies, a reflexive apology being
what it
that
is.
quick okay, I'll just apologise, to expressions of ownership and confidence, just what you were saying, Raoul, ensuring apologies are given when truly necessary rather than out of habit. And so many women, and potentially some men, but certainly women, don't even realise how often they're saying sorry. Back to your other point.
Someone was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they were talking about something, and they were going, look, it's just not on, it's just not right.
Yeah.
But they kept going, sorry, it's just not right. And after about 5 times, I go, stop saying sorry because it's not right. I mean, they weren't talking to me, but they were talking generally, and you go, no, that's not acceptable. You just got to go, it's not right.
Correct.
Not sorry, it's not right.
Correct.
And it is this reflex thing. I remember once I was doing...
Bad habit is what it is.
I was running a session with a colleague of ours, Michelle, and it was a women's in leadership program, and we had just finished the session on over-apologising and how it can impact your brand, and we had a break, and we were in the toilet, and I'm in the cubicle, and people would walking in and out of the doors going, sorry.
Just straight after you've had the
session.
Like,
and I'm in the cubicle going, stop saying sorry.
Sorry. Well done. I interrupt and stop women that I'm coaching who start saying sorry. Did you just hear yourself?
Yeah.
Did you hear yourself say sorry? No, I didn't even realise I said it. It's become so habitual, so reflective.
Yeah.
So become much more self-aware, keepers, of how often you say sorry. And if you are just using it as a filler, as a reflective apology, when it actually isn't needed.
Yeah. You know what I noticed? So you play this as a little game. Again, genuinely speaking, men or women, right? You're walking along, say you're walking along and you're both head down, or you're coming out of a lift or a door, and you know that moment where you sort of both face each other and you have to sort of, one has to go either way. A man will just look and will move.
Yep.
A female will say sorry. Like it's no one's fault. You've literally come together, and 9 out of 10 times a female will say sorry because it's a reflex thing.
Yes.
And men want, and I'm very conscious of that.
Yes.
I don't do it. You might just sort of play that which way do we go game, and you might go awkward.
So I think also the opportunity, if you are a parent, male or female, daughters, watch this. Societal norms teach women from a young age to be more self-critical and accommodating, and then, of course, that just plays out as we get older and becomes habitual and then in professional settings. So that's a great example of the lift, but take full accountability and be really self-aware of how often you say sorry and whether you are actually influencing others, your team, your children, because of you over-apology.
Yeah, and I think if you notice, like with your kids or your teammates or whatever, a really quick way to address that is just say to them, sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
And because that comes from that ad that we'll put a link to in the show notes. Pantene.
A shampoo. Who knew?
Yeah.
There you are. All right. Plastic apologies. How to apologise well, take full responsibility, express genuine remorse, acknowledge the harm caused, make amends, follow through, and be very, very self-aware of over-apologising, particularly if you're a female in the workplace.
Yeah. Excellent.
That's it.
You know what you don't want to be sorry for?
Oh, hang on. There's a
segue coming.
Immersion I'm aware of.
You don't want to miss out on Fiji.
You don't want to be sorry.
And
you will be sorry if you don't come.
You will be sorry if you don't come. I can just tell you right now, if you don't come to Fiji with us, you'll be sorry. You will spend the rest of your life being sorry.
5th to the 7th of June. Places are almost full. Please let us know if you want to join us. And you won't regret, you won't be sorry, coming to Fiji in a Australian winter.
Yeah. And also, if you can't make the dates or the timing's not right, and we've had a lot of people go, I'd love to come, the timing's not right, let us know. You'll go on the wait list, so you'll be the first people to know about the next one. And we've decided we're going to mix it up. We won't do Fiji all the time. We might do Australia, we might do New Zealand, we might do
beautiful Tassie.
Whatever.
Well, that's Australia.
Wherever we go. Yeah, that is Australia.
I'm not going to apologise for saying that. Sorry,
so
Tasmanians.
Anyway, there you go. I think this was a nice, short and sharp, sweet one. Sorry. Okay, keepers, share us, rate us, tell your friends, but whatever you do not over-apologise. We'll speak to you next time.
Bye.
You've been listening to another episode of Keeping It Real with Jack and Raoul. If you like what you've heard, don't forget to tell others about it and give a 5-star review. They may seem confident, but they really are sensitive, 5-star needy souls. Yeah, right. Keeping It Real, created by Jack Phillips and Gabriel Dolan. Produced by Keehlan Ferrari-Brown. And this really real voiceover, spoken by Richard Phillips.